English Daily, the podcast.
Your English journey starts now. Hey, English learners. Welcome back to your podcast, the English Daily Podcast.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here today.
Today's episode is all about business agility and ecosystem collaboration, advanced business English terms for 2026.
That's right, and we're going to make it really practical for you, especially if you're aiming for that C1, C2 professional level.
So whether you're preparing for international business meetings or want to understand what native speakers are really talking about in boardrooms, you'll find something valuable here.
Absolutely. We're going to dive deep into some really interesting corporate concepts that are shaping the business world right now.
Let's get started.
So Anna, let's kick things off with a question. Have you ever seen a company change direction in a flash?
Oh, that's a great question, Jack. Actually, I have. A few years ago, I was working with a tech startup that was primarily focused on enterprise software. But when the pandemic hit, they pivoted entirely to remote collaboration tools within just a few weeks. It was incredible to watch. They basically transformed their entire product roadmap overnight.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's actually a perfect example of what we're going to talk about today, business agility. So let's start there, shall we?
Yes, let's do it. Business agility is such an important concept in 2026. Can you explain what it really means for our listeners?
Sure. Business agility refers to a company's ability to move quickly and adapt to changes in the market. It's not just about being flexible, it's about being able to sense changes, respond to them rapidly, and even anticipate them before they happen. Think of it like a living organism rather than a machine.
I love that comparison. It's so true. And you know what? I think one of the key phrases our listeners need to know is pivot. You know, when a company changes its business direction.
Absolutely. Pivot has become such a popular business term. But let me tell you, Anna, I've seen companies use the word pivot in some pretty interesting ways. I remember one CEO who said they were pivoting to AI when they literally just added a chatbot to their website.
Oh no, that's not really a pivot, is it? That's more like a tiny step.
Guilty as charged, right? We've all seen that. A true pivot is a fundamental shift in strategy, not just a small adjustment. And that's what business agility is really about, being willing and able to make those big changes when necessary.
So what are some other terms our listeners should know when we're talking about business agility?
Well, there's adaptive capacity. That's a company's ability to adjust to new situations. There's also resilience, which is bouncing back from challenges. And then there's agile methodology, which originally came from software development, but now is used across all business functions.
Oh, I use agile all the time in meetings. But you know what's interesting? I think people sometimes confuse agile with quick. They're not quite the same.
That's a really good point, Anna. Being agile doesn't just mean being fast. It means being adaptable, being willing to iterate, and being comfortable with change. Speed is part of it, but it's not the whole story.
Let me ask you this, Jack. Have you worked with companies that struggled with agility? What held them back?
Oh, that's a great question. I've seen it many times, actually. The biggest obstacle is usually company culture. You can have all the right tools and processes, but if the people in the organization are afraid of change, or if there's too much bureaucracy, agility becomes impossible. That's why we talk about cultural agility as well.
Warm, gentle tone, like a friendly older sister. Cultural agility. That's a new one for me. Can you explain what that means?
Of course. Cultural agility refers to an organization's ability to adapt its values, beliefs, and behaviors to meet new challenges. It's about creating a culture where experimentation is welcomed, where failure is seen as a learning opportunity, and where everyone feels empowered to contribute ideas.
That makes so much sense. And I think this is particularly relevant for 2026 because the business environment is changing so rapidly. Companies really need to build that cultural agility if they want to survive.
Exactly. And now let's move on to our second major topic, ecosystem collaboration. This is another huge concept in modern business.
Yes, let's dive in. Ecosystem collaboration. What does that actually mean?
Ecosystem collaboration refers to how companies work together with other organizations, partners, suppliers, and even competitors to create value. It's the idea that no company can succeed alone in today's complex business environment. You need to build an ecosystem of partners who can help you innovate, reach new markets, and solve problems.
That's a really powerful concept. And it's interesting because it changes the way we think about competition, right? It's not just us versus them anymore.
Exactly. You've hit on something really important. In a traditional business model, companies compete against each other. But in an ecosystem, there's more cooperation. Sometimes competitors even work together on certain projects because they realize they can create more value together than apart.
Can you give us a concrete example of ecosystem collaboration?
Sure, think about the smartphone industry. Apple doesn't make everything itself. They work with thousands of suppliers, app developers, and content creators. That's an ecosystem. And the success of the iPhone depends not just on Apple, but on all those partners creating apps, accessories, and services.
Oh, I love that example. It's so clear. And I think another great example is the automotive industry now. Car companies are partnering with tech companies, battery manufacturers, and even ride-sharing services to create the future of transportation.
That's a perfect example, Anna, and that's exactly what we mean by ecosystem collaboration. It's about building those partnerships and working together across traditional industry boundaries.
What are some key terms our listeners should know about ecosystem collaboration?
Well, there's platform business model. That's when a company creates a platform that others can build on top of. There's partner ecosystem, the network of companies that work together. And there's co-opetition, which is when companies compete and cooperate at the same time.
Co-opetition. That's such an interesting word. I've actually experienced that in my career. We were competing with another company for a contract, but we ended up partnering with them on a different project because we each had different strengths.
That's a great real-world example, and that's exactly what co-opetition looks like in practice. It's not always easy to manage, but when done well, it can be incredibly powerful.
I think another important term is value chain integration. Can you explain what that means?
Absolutely. Value chain integration refers to how a company manages all the activities that create value for its customers, from sourcing materials to delivering the final product. In an ecosystem, companies might integrate their value chains with partners to create more efficient systems.
Let me ask you this, Jack. What are some challenges companies face when they're trying to build these ecosystem collaborations?
That's a really important question. One of the biggest challenges is trust. When you're working closely with other organizations, you need to have trust, and building that trust takes time. There's also the challenge of aligning different corporate cultures and ensuring that everyone benefits fairly from the partnership.
That makes sense. I can imagine it would be really difficult to coordinate multiple organizations with different priorities and ways of working.
It is difficult, but the benefits can be enormous. Companies that master ecosystem collaboration can create competitive advantages that are very hard for others to replicate.
Let's move on to our third subtopic, adaptive leadership. This is something I'm really passionate about.
I'm excited to hear about this, Anna. What does adaptive leadership mean to you?
To me, adaptive leadership is about leading through change and uncertainty. It's different from traditional leadership, which often focuses on maintaining stability and following established processes. Adaptive leaders are comfortable with ambiguity and can help their teams navigate situations where there are no clear answers.
That's a great explanation. And I think this is especially relevant in 2026 because the business environment is so unpredictable. Leaders really need to be able to adapt.
Absolutely. And you know what I think is interesting? There's a concept called servant leadership that ties into this. Have you experienced that in your career?
Oh, yes. Servant leadership is when a leader's primary role is to serve their team, to remove obstacles, provide resources, and support their people rather than just giving orders. I've worked with some amazing leaders like that. They genuinely cared about our growth and well-being, and as a result, we were so much more motivated to perform at our best.
That's a great example. And I think another important term is transformational leadership, when a leader inspires and motivates their team to achieve extraordinary results by creating a compelling vision of the future.
Yes, transformational leaders are often the ones who drive major changes in organizations. They can see where the industry is going and help their teams get there. It's really inspiring when you work for someone like that.
What about situational leadership? I've heard that term used quite a bit.
Situational leadership is about adapting your leadership style to the situation and the people you're working with. Some situations require a more directive approach, while others need more collaborative or supportive styles. Good situational leaders can read the room and adjust accordingly.
That makes me think of my first job out of college. My manager was so good at that. She knew exactly when to give us independence and when to step in with guidance. It really helped us grow.
That's a great real-world example. And you know what? Adaptive leadership ties back to what we were talking about earlier with business agility. Leaders need to be able to model that agility for their teams.
Exactly. I think that's so important. If leaders aren't willing to adapt, how can they expect their organizations to adapt?
Well said. Now, let's move on to our fourth subtopic, cross-functional teams. This is something that many organizations are focusing on these days.
Cross-functional teams. Can you explain what they are and why they're important?
Sure. A cross-functional team is a group of people from different departments or areas of expertise who come together to work on a specific project or problem. The idea is that by bringing together diverse perspectives, you can create more innovative solutions than any single department could develop on its own.
I love that concept. I've worked on several cross-functional teams, and the energy and creativity that comes from bringing different perspectives together is really special.
Me too, although I have to admit it can also be challenging. Sometimes different departments have different priorities, and getting everyone aligned can take some work.
What are some key terms related to cross-functional teams that our listeners should know?
Well, there's silo. That's when departments work in isolation and don't share information with each other. Breaking down silos is often a goal when implementing cross-functional teams. There's also stakeholder management, which is about identifying and working with all the people who have an interest in a project.
Oh, I hate silos. They can really hold organizations back. When I worked at a company with strong silos, it felt like we were all fighting each other instead of working together toward common goals.
That's such a common experience, Anna, and that's exactly why cross-functional teams are so valuable. They help break down those walls and create more collaboration.
What about matrix organization? I've heard that term, but I'm not entirely sure what it means.
A matrix organization is when employees report to more than one manager, typically a functional manager and a project manager. This allows for more flexibility and can support cross-functional working, but it can also create complexity in terms of priorities and accountability.
That sounds complicated. I can imagine it would take some getting used to.
It definitely can be challenging, but when implemented well, it gives organizations a lot of flexibility to deploy talent where it's most needed.
Let me ask you this, Jack. What are some best practices for making cross-functional teams work effectively?
Great question. I think clear goals and accountability are essential. Everyone needs to understand what they're working toward and who is responsible for what. Regular communication is also critical, making sure all team members are aligned and informed. And finally, having strong sponsorship from leadership helps ensure the team has the resources and support it needs.
Those are really practical tips. I think our listeners will find those very helpful.
Now let's move on to our fifth subtopic, innovation ecosystems. This is one of my favorites.
Innovation ecosystems. That sounds fascinating. What does that term mean?
An innovation ecosystem refers to the network of organizations, individuals, and resources that support innovation within a particular industry or region. It's broader than just a company's internal R&D. It includes universities, startups, investors, government agencies, and other entities that contribute to the innovation process.
That's such a broad concept. Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Silicon Valley is probably the most famous innovation ecosystem in the world. It has universities like Stanford, venture capital firms, big tech companies, and thousands of startups all working together and competing at the same time. Another example is the biotech cluster in Boston or the fintech scene in London.
Those are great examples. And I think what's interesting is that these ecosystems often become self-reinforcing. The more innovation happens, the more attracted more talent and investment becomes.
Exactly. It's like a flywheel effect. Once an ecosystem gets momentum, it becomes harder and harder for other places to compete.
What are some key terms our listeners should know about innovation ecosystems?
Well, there's open innovation, which is when companies actively seek ideas and technologies from outside their organization. There's Innovation Hub, a physical or virtual space where innovators can connect and collaborate. And there's spin-off, when a new company is created from an existing organization, often from a university's research department.
I didn't know that about spin-offs. That's really interesting. I think another important term is incubator and accelerator, right?
Absolutely. An incubator is a program that helps early-stage startups develop their ideas and businesses. An accelerator is similar, but typically provides more intensive support over a shorter period, often culminating in a demo day where startups pitch to investors.
Have you ever been involved with a startup through an accelerator or incubator?
Actually, yes. A few years ago, I mentored a startup that was going through an accelerator program. It was incredible to see how much they grew in just a few months. The mentorship, the networking, the access to funding, it really accelerated their development.
That's a great story. And I think this ties back to what we were saying earlier about ecosystem collaboration. Incubators and accelerators are part of that broader innovation ecosystem.
Exactly. You've made a great connection, Anna. Everything we're talking about today is interconnected.
Now let's move to our sixth and final subtopic, future trends for 2026 and beyond. This is so exciting.
I know. Let's talk about what's coming next in the business world. What trends are you seeing, Anna?
Well, I think AI integration is going to continue to be huge. But what I'm really excited about is how companies are starting to think about human-AI collaboration rather than just automation. It's about using AI to augment human capabilities rather than replace them.
That's a really important distinction. And I think you're right. The most successful companies in 2026 will be those that figure out how to best combine human creativity and judgment with AI's analytical power.
What trends are you seeing, Jack?
I'm really interested in the rise of the metaverse and virtual collaboration tools. Although the initial hype has cooled a bit, I think we're going to see more and more companies using virtual and augmented reality for things like remote training, virtual conferences, and collaborative design sessions.
That's interesting. I have to admit, I was a bit skeptical at first, but after experiencing some virtual collaboration tools myself, I can see the potential.
Yes, And another trend I'm watching is the increased focus on sustainability and ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Companies are realizing that sustainability isn't just the right thing to do ethically, it also makes good business sense.
Oh, absolutely. I think green skills and sustainability leadership are going to be really important for career development in the coming years.
Definitely. And let me throw in one more trend, the continued rise of remote and hybrid work. Even though we're not in the pandemic anymore, the way we work has permanently changed. Companies that embrace flexible work arrangements are going to have a talent advantage.
That's so true. I think digital nomad lifestyles are becoming more mainstream too. People want the freedom to work from anywhere.
And you know what's interesting? That ties back to ecosystem collaboration. Companies are building these distributed ecosystems of talent, partners, and collaborators all over the world.
This has been such an insightful conversation, Jack. We've covered so much ground today.
I know! I'm really proud of everything we've discussed. Now let's move on to our vocabulary breakdown section.
Yes, let's dive into the key phrases our listeners need to know.
First up, we have business agility. This refers to a company's ability to adapt quickly to market changes and opportunities. Example, the company's business agility allowed it to survive the pandemic by quickly pivoting to remote services.
What about pivot? We mentioned that earlier.
Pivot means to fundamentally change the direction of a business. Example, after years of declining sales, the company decided to pivot from hardware to software services. Remember, a true pivot is a major strategic shift, not just a small change.
Next is ecosystem collaboration. This describes how companies work with partners, suppliers, and other organizations to create value. Example, through ecosystem collaboration, Apple has built one of the most valuable companies in the world.
Great example. And adaptive capacity is another important term. It refers to an organization's ability to adjust to new circumstances. Example, the company's strong adaptive capacity helped it recover quickly from the supply chain disruption.
What about resilience? We hear that word all the time now.
Resilience means the ability to recover from difficulties or bounce back from challenges. Example, the team's resilience in the face of the project setback was truly impressive. It's different from just surviving. It's about coming back stronger.
Next is agile methodology. This is a project management approach that emphasizes flexibility, iteration, and collaboration. Example, we used agile methodology to develop the new product, releasing updates every 2 weeks.
And cultural agility refers to an organization's ability to adapt its values and behaviors. Example, the company's cultural agility allowed it to successfully integrate teams from different countries. Remember, culture can be one of the biggest barriers to change.
Now let's talk about platform business model. This is when a company creates a platform that other businesses or individuals can build upon. Example, Amazon's platform business model allows third-party sellers to reach millions of customers.
That's such a powerful example. And co-opetition is a fun one. It means competing and cooperating at the same time. Example, the two competing airlines cooperated on certain routes while still competing on others. It's a paradox, but it works.
What about value chain integration?
Value chain integration refers to how a company manages all the activities that create value, from start to finish. Example, by integrating their value chain with key suppliers, the company reduced costs by 20%.
Next is adaptive leadership. This is about leading through change and uncertainty. Example, her adaptive leadership during the crisis inspired the whole team to keep moving forward.
And servant leadership is when a leader focuses on serving their team's needs. Example, the CEO's servant leadership style created a culture where everyone felt valued and motivated.
Transformational leadership is when a leader inspires and motivates others to achieve extraordinary results. Example, the transformational leader's vision for the future inspired the entire organization to work towards something bigger than themselves.
Those are such important concepts. And situational leadership means adapting your leadership style to the situation. Example, good managers practice situational leadership, adjusting their approach based on the team member's experience and the task at hand.
What about cross-functional team?
Cross-functional team refers to a group with members from different departments working towards a common goal. Example, we formed a cross-functional team to launch the new product, including people from marketing, engineering, and sales.
And silos, that's when departments work in isolation without sharing information. Example, breaking down silos was essential for improving collaboration across the organization.
And stakeholder management is about identifying and working with people who have an interest in a project. Example, effective stakeholder management helped us gain buy-in from all the key decision makers.
Matrix organization is when employees report to multiple managers. Example, working in a matrix organization can be challenging, but also provides great opportunities for learning.
Now let's cover some innovation-related terms. Open innovation means seeking ideas from outside the organization. Example, the company's Open Innovation Program brings in ideas from startups and universities worldwide.
What about Innovation Hub?
Innovation Hub is a space dedicated to fostering innovation and collaboration. Example, the city's Innovation Hub has attracted dozens of startups working on cutting-edge technologies.
Spin-off is when a new company is created from an existing organization. Example, the Research Institute's spin-off company was eventually acquired for billions of dollars.
And incubator and accelerator help startups grow. Example, the startup went through an accelerator program that helped them refine their business model and secure funding.
Let's also include ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Example, investors are increasingly looking at a company's ESG performance when making decisions.
That's such an important one in today's business world. And finally, metaverse refers to virtual shared spaces. Example, the company is exploring metaverse technologies for virtual training and collaboration.
Wow, we've covered so many great terms today. Now let's move on to reflection questions for our listeners.
Yes, these questions are designed to help you think about how these concepts apply to your own professional life.
Question 1. How would you describe your organization's current level of business agility? What factors contribute to that?
Question 2. Can you think of a time when you or your company had to pivot? What was that experience like?
Question 3. What does ecosystem collaboration look like in your industry? Who are the key players in your organization's network?
Question 4. How do you practice adaptive leadership in your daily work? What challenges have you faced?
Question 5. Have you worked on a cross-functional team before? What were the benefits and challenges?
Question 6. How important is innovation to your organization's culture? Are there programs or initiatives in place to support it?
Question 7. What future business trends do you think will impact your industry the most in the next few years?
Question 8. How is your organization addressing sustainability and ESG considerations?
Question 9. What skills do you think you need to develop to thrive in the evolving business landscape of 2026?
Question 10. How can you personally contribute to building a more collaborative and agile culture in your workplace?
And that's our episode for today, everyone. I hope you learned as much as I did from this conversation.
Absolutely. These are such important concepts for anyone looking to advance in their career, especially in the international business world.
Remember, these aren't just abstract business terms. They're practical concepts that can help you understand what's happening in organizations around you and give you the language to discuss them confidently.
That's right. And the more you practice using these terms in your own conversations, the more natural they'll become.
Thanks so much for joining us today, everyone. We really appreciate your time and attention.
Yes, and don't forget to practice with those reflection questions. Think about how these concepts apply to your own professional context.
And we'll see you in the next episode. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep practicing your English.
Bye for now, everyone. Take care.
Your learning journey doesn't stop here. Keep improving your English. Click the next video or explore more episodes we've picked just for you. See you in the next lesson.